Astrid had been driving home from her trip to the supermarket when she saw it. A strange-looking but abandoned animal. After stopping her car and taking a closer look, Astrid decided that the poor dog couldn't be left where it was and took it with her. With the animal shivering, she knew she had to take it to the vet. However, as the vet examined the animal, he suddenly said, "That is not a dog," turning Astrid's world upside down. Astrid's eyebrows raised at the doctor's exclamation. What could the doctor possibly mean with that statement? She looked at the animal, and though it seemed a bit strange, it was definitely a canine. With its calm nature, it couldn't be anything other than a dog. "What do you mean, Dr. Green?" she asked, needing to know the answer. However, after asking, it almost seemed like she hadn't asked anything at all. Instead of answering her question, Dr. Green was deep in thought. "Doctor, what do you mean?" Astrid asked, her voice now a bit firmer. The doctor held up his finger, his face looking like he was deep in thought. "Sorry, excuse me for a moment. I need to make an important call," he said, not answering her question again. Before she could demand his attention again, Dr. Green left the room, leaving Astrid alone with the calm but curious dog. As she looked at it, it even locked eyes with her, letting out a soft whine. It made Astrid wonder. Why was Dr. Green acting so strange? What was he doing now? And most importantly, if this wasn't a dog, what else could it possibly be? When Astrid's day started, she thought it would be like any other. How could she not? She had always been a woman of routine and loved structure. She planned out every little thing, including chores, and today was the day for her to buy her groceries. When she left for the store, she could never have guessed where she would end up, but maybe that wasn't a coincidence. It had happened on the road back from the grocery store. The road was rather abandoned, near woods, tall grass, and a lot of farmland. But unlike it being empty like on the way there, she suddenly noticed something strange. She saw an animal standing close to a pole, nearly unmoving. However, when it did move, it almost seemed like it was limping. The fact that she thought it was limping had made her mind sound the alarm bells. She had no clue what had happened, but she knew that she couldn't let an abandoned and hurt animal alone out in the woods. She quickly parked her car and got out, wanting to know what kind of animal it was. As she took a closer look, she gasped, but quickly covered her mouth. She was flabbergasted at the sight of the large dog. She thought it was a unique but stunning creature, but unlike any dog she had seen, though she wouldn't say that she knew a lot of different breeds. She slowly made her way over in a way that hopefully wouldn't spook the animal. She slowly inched closer until she spotted something around its neck. It was a collar. The animal was wearing a collar, and engraved in it was the name Daisha. "Hello, Daisha," Astrid started, and as she spoke the name, the dog's face shot up, looking at her. It was clearly responsive to the name. She held out her hand as she crouched down a bit so as not to scare the dog. It looked seriously hurt, and the last thing she wanted was for Daisha to run away. The dog started to sniff Astrid's hand, and having the dog come closer, she could truly study it. From further away, it was hard to see that it was actually a dog, but besides its abnormally large ears, it resembled dogs she had seen before. She softly petted its fur as she glanced back to the car. The poor animal was hurt, and she knew that she had to find help for it soon. As soon as she got the dog's trust, she softly started pulling its collar toward her car. But as she saw the animal struggle, she knew she couldn't just do that. Instead, she carefully lifted it and walked toward her car. The animal stayed completely calm while she placed it in her trunk. She quickly got in her car to drive to the vet. They would know how to help. Astrid quickly drove to the veterinarian's office and lifted the dog from the trunk. She, again, didn't want it to walk as she had no clue if that could worsen its condition. She had gone to this particular office quite a few times in the past, back when she had animals herself. As she entered, she was immediately greeted by Jill, the receptionist, but her expression wasn't what Astrid had expected. "Hey, Astrid, Long time no see, Jill started, her eyes not leaving the canine in Astrid's arms. She rose from behind her desk, bridging the gap between them before continuing. Whatever did you bring with you? Jill asked, quickly examining Daisha. Astrid only shrugged, not quite knowing the answer to that. I don't quite know yet, but I found it a few miles out. It seemed abandoned, and it has a limp, so I figured I would see Dr. Green. I hope he has time. Astrid gave Jill a sheepish smile, only now realizing she hadn't called beforehand. Jill shook her head with a smile. You are quite lucky, you know that. Dr. Green actually has a spot. Please wait in the waiting area while I notify him. After waiting a few minutes in the waiting area, she was told she could come in. Astrid stepped into Dr. Green's examination room with Daisha quietly nestled in her arms. What was supposed to be a standard visit quickly took an unexpected turn. The room, usually filled with the sounds of routine checkups, was unusually quiet, setting a solemn tone for what was about to unfold. As Dr. Green laid his eyes on Daisha, his initial look of professional interest soon morphed into one of confusion. However, for the moment, he kept quiet. He gently prodded and peered, taking note of Daisha's peculiar features. The more he observed, the deeper his brow furrowed, signaling that this was no ordinary case. Mid-examination, Dr. Green paused, his hands stilling as he stepped back. With a tone mixed with concern and disbelief, he uttered, "That is not a dog." Astrid, taken aback, felt a chill run down her spine. Dr. Green's statement echoed in the room. What did he mean that Daisha was not a dog? If she wasn't, whatever could she be? Watching Dr. Green's demeanour shift from curiosity to grave concern, Astrid felt her own anxiety mount. Astrid's heart raced as she pondered the implications of Dr. Green's words. However, Dr. Green, who was usually forthcoming with information, hesitated. His reluctance to explain further only added to the thickening plot, leaving Astrid to wonder about the true nature of her newfound companion. Astrid couldn't take the silence any longer. What could the doctor possibly mean with that statement? She looked at the animal, and though it seemed a bit strange, it was definitely a canine. With its calm nature, it couldn't be anything other than a dog. What do you mean, Dr. Green? She asked, needing to know the answer. I'm sorry, Astrid, but it's not that straightforward, Dr. Green replied, avoiding her gaze. His reluctance to elaborate on Daisha's condition only fueled Astrid's worry. Each evasive answer twisted the knot of mystery tighter, leaving Astrid grasping for any semblance of understanding in this uncertainty. Dr. Green's concern became palpable as he noted, Daisha's features, even her symptoms regarding her limp, they don't fit the usual patterns we see in dogs. His voice trailed off, hinting at the complexity of the situation. Astrid watched, heart sinking, as it became clear that Daisha's case was veering into uncharted territory. Where exactly did you find her? Dr. Green asked, shifting his investigation toward Daisha's origins. Astrid recounted the lonely road near the woods, her description painting a picture of isolation. It was as if every detail she provided was a piece of a puzzle that Dr. Green was desperately trying to solve. Dr. Green's questions became more pointed, probing into Daisha's behaviour and any peculiarities in her appearance. Did she behave like other dogs? Any unusual habits? He inquired. Astrid thought back, realising that Daisha's calm demeanour and intelligent gaze were indeed out of the ordinary for a stray, yet not unheard of. Astrid gave Dr. Green her thoughts, and he agreed that different dogs had a large variety in intelligence. As the examination drew to a close, the air was heavy with unanswered questions. Dr. Green, usually confident in his diagnoses, seemed at a loss. This is unlike any case I've encountered, he admitted, concern etching his features. Astrid felt a chill of foreboding. Daisha was not just any stray, but what was she? We'll need to run some tests, Dr. Green decided, his voice carrying a weight of urgency. Dr. Green carefully drew blood from Daisha, his hands steady yet gentle. The vet then prepared her for X-rays, moving with a purpose that underscored the gravity of their situation. Astrid watched, her worry tempered by Dr. Green's professionalism and care. "I think we may need to consult with a specialist," Dr. Green mused aloud, his eyes scanning the initial test results. Astrid wasn't an expert, but she knew that this couldn't be good. Was Daisha's identity so mysterious that even a certified vet couldn't pinpoint exactly what she was? Daisha suddenly whined as she nuzzled Astrid's hand. Astrid decides to pet Daisha as she listens to Dr. Green's explanation. Clearly, he could only use his medical expertise to a certain extent, and it seemed like this was that point. "I have never encountered something like this before," he admitted to Astrid, who gave him a solemn nod. "Give me a moment and wait in the waiting room while I figure this out, please," he said before Astrid made her way with Daisha to the waiting room. As the clinic's machines whirred and clicked, performing their analyses, Astrid sat beside Daisha, her hand resting gently on the animal's fur. The waiting room was quiet. The silence was punctuated only by the soft hum of equipment and the occasional distant bark. Both Astrid and Daisha waited, hoping that Dr. Green would return to them shortly with some answers. As they waited, Astrid found herself drawn to Daisha's peacefulness. Every moment together seemed to tighten their connection. However, the longer they waited, the heavier the cloak of uncertainty weighed on Astrid. Daisha had turned Astrid's life into an unforeseen adventure. The mystery surrounding Daisha broke the monotony of Astrid's daily routine, yet she didn't yet know if she was happy with that shift. After sitting in the waiting area for a bit, Dr. Green returned with the test results, looking more puzzled than before. "The tests don't tell us much," he said, showing Astrid the papers full of indecipherable medical jargon that seemed to lead nowhere. Astrid's anticipation turned into disappointment, realizing the path to answers would be much longer than expected. The test results were baffling, hinting that Daisha wasn't just any regular dog. The information they had gathered so far only seemed to deepen the mystery, leaving Astrid and Dr. Green scratching their heads. Every piece of data added another layer to Daisha's enigma, making the situation increasingly complex. Dr. Green looked genuinely stumped, a rare sight for someone usually so confident in his diagnoses. Astrid had seen the confident man countless enough times to know how uncharacteristic he was being at the moment. "This is beyond anything I've encountered," he admitted, his tone tinged with frustration. This confession from Dr. Green highlighted just how unusual Daisha's case was, signaling that they were stepping into uncharted territory. Despite the lack of clear answers and the growing list of questions, Astrid felt her determination harden. She gazed at Daisha, finding strength in her silent companion's presence. "We're in this together," she whispered to Daisha, her resolve turning into a promise to uncover Daisha's true story, no matter the challenges ahead. After a deep discussion, Dr. Green made the call. "We need someone with a broader perspective," he said, thinking of a wildlife expert he knew who specialized in rare animals. Astrid, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness, agreed instantly. The thought of bringing in an expert turned their quest for answers into an even bigger adventure. Astrid didn't just sit back. She threw herself into the role of Daisha's protector. She started reading up on wildlife care, even joining online forums to share Daisha's story, seeking insights from others. Her apartment became a mini research hub, filled with notes and books about animals of all kinds. Astrid was determined to be more than just a bystander in Daisha's story. Dr. Green, with Astrid by his side, dialed numbers and sent emails, reaching out to anyone he thought could shed light on Daisha's condition. They hit a few dead ends, but their persistence paid off when a renowned wildlife biologist expressed interest in Daisha's case. Setting up a meeting, they felt a renewed sense of hope, as if they were finally on the verge of a breakthrough. Preparing for the specialist's arrival, Astrid and Dr. Green turned the vet office into a welcoming space for the expert. They reviewed Daisha's files, organized their notes, and prepared a list of questions, It was clear they were both deeply invested in finding answers for Daisha, and they hoped that this wildlife expert would be the key. The day before the specialist's visit, the clinic buzzed with anticipation. Astrid and Dr. Green went over their plans one last time, ensuring they hadn't missed anything. The waiting was hard, filled with anxious energy and hopeful dreams. They both knew that tomorrow could bring the answers they desperately sought and not just add more to the mystery. On the morning of the consultation, Dr. Green and Astrid were a bundle of nerves and excitement as they welcomed the team, led by the renowned Dr. Michelle Davidson, a specialist in rare and exotic animals. As Dr. Davidson shook hands with Astrid, she whispered with a booming smile, "Let's solve a mystery," igniting a spark of hope in Astrid's heart. As the day unfolded, Daisha, unfazed by the attention, became the center of a brainstorming storm. Dr. Davidson led the charge, her eyes reflecting both intrigue and perplexity with each test result they reviewed. "I've seen a lot in my days, but Daisha here is something else," she announced after a particularly puzzling result, yet there was resolve in her eyes. The team, inspired by Dr. Davidson's leadership, embarked on a deep dive into Daisha's case. They compared notes, cross-referenced medical journals, and even made calls to colleagues around the globe. In one memorable moment, Dr. Davidson orchestrated a video call with a biologist in Australia, turning the clinic into a global command centre. With each new discovery, Daisha's mystery deepened. Dr. Davidson, with her decades of experience, was momentarily stumped. "We're dealing with a living puzzle," she mused, staring thoughtfully at Daisha. "Luckily, I like puzzles," she continued. The team's efforts to piece together Daisha's condition led to more questions than answers. Yet, they didn't let that deter them. Just as the day was winding down and the weight of unanswered questions became a larger weight on their shoulder, Dr. Davidson stumbled upon a curious anomaly in Daisha's DNA analysis. "Look at this," she beckoned, her voice a mix of fatigue and excitement. The room huddled around her screen where a single, unusual genetic marker could be the answer to their question. As the excitement of the discovery settled, Astrid found herself pondering the gravity of Daisha's situation. With Dr. Davidson's finding pointing them in a new direction, the question of what was best for Daisha loomed large. Astrid knew that navigating the path ahead meant considering Daisha's well-being above all, even as they stood on the brink of scientific breakthroughs. Astrid faced a crossroads. The potential for further scientific exploration of Daisha's condition was immense, but so were the risks of exposing her to a world not always kind to the unknown. She was not some freak scientific experiment, Astrid thought. Astrid wrestled with these choices, seeking Dr. Green and Dr. Davidson's counsel. She knew that Daisha had the right to a nice and peaceful life like any other. News of Daisha's mysterious condition began to attract attention beyond the clinic's walls, as Astrid's story, which she had posted online before, began circulating. Journalists and curious onlookers started reaching out, drawn by the allure of the unknown. Astrid, protective of Daisha's privacy, decided to give no further comments until they were certain of their prognosis. With the outside world's interest piqued, Astrid and Dr. Green took measures to ensure Daisha's environment remained a sanctuary. They enhanced privacy at the clinic and limited access to authorized personnel only. The trio discussed long-term plans, considering special habitats that could accommodate Daisha's needs while keeping her away from prying eyes. However, before they could make that decision, they would have to know Daisha's full ancestry. Astrid threw herself into research, poring over books and online databases for anything that might hint at Daisha's origins. She sought out old texts on wildlife, hoping to find a species that matched Daisha's description. Each night, her desk became a mess of notes and open books, a testament to her unwavering commitment to understanding Daisha's background. With insights gathered, the team, including a few invited wildlife habitat experts, brainstormed the design of the sanctuary. They focused on incorporating natural elements that would mimic the habitat of Daisha's possible ancestors. However, since the missing puzzle piece hadn't yet been found, they decided to use elements of the place where Astrid had first found the animal. As word of the sanctuary project spread, support from the local community began to pour in. Donations of materials, time and expertise helped propel the project forward. Local craftsmen offered their skills, while families came by with plants and trees for the sanctuary. Astrid's fear nearly disappeared, as it was not fear for the unknown that she saw, but hope. Astrid had been waiting at home, going through various books yet again. A few of them she had sent to Dr. Davidson personally, hoping that she would see something that she hadn't. Astrid had no clue that her involvement was one of the reasons why Dr. Davidson had finally found the missing puzzle piece. However, she could never have anticipated that this was what Daisha truly was. One night, Astrid's phone rang with news that changed everything. They had cracked Daisha's genetic code, revealing her to be a hybrid of a rare wild species thought to be extinct and a domestic dog. This revelation hit Astrid like a bolt of lightning, filling her with a whirlwind of emotions. Helping that animal all those weeks ago, she could never have anticipated this. Now that they knew Daisha's true lineage, everything about her started to make sense. Her unusual behavior and the peculiarities in her appearance were all clues leading to this moment. Astrid and Dr. Green delved into the genetic report with the eagerness of detectives solving a case, trying to see what else they could find. Astrid and Dr. Green had embarked on this journey fueled by curiosity and concern for Daisha, and now they stood together, basking in the glow of discovery. This moment was a testament to their perseverance. Through all their frustrations of needing to find out what Daisha truly was, they had finally reached the finish line. Daisha's unique heritage was a wake-up call for everyone involved. She was proof of the wonders that could be lost if we were not careful. Astrid and Dr. Green started conversations about how to better protect rare species and their habitats, as well as creating a better database of creatures that are believed to be extinct. Knowing Daisha's true nature allowed Astrid and Dr. Green to dream bigger for her future. They began to envision a life that would allow her to thrive, blending elements of the wild with the comforts of home. Both sides of her DNA needed to be respected when they were making her habitat, her sanctuary. But that wasn't all they needed to do. Astrid and Dr. Green sat down, surrounded by notes and plans, focused on how best to introduce Daisha's remarkable story to the world. They wanted to ensure that the message centered on conservation and the wonder of nature's diversity. It was crucial that Daisha's reveal not only captivated people's attention, but also educated them about the importance of protecting the planet's rare treasures. The day of the reveal, they shared Daisha's unique heritage with a captivated audience. Their presentation was designed to open eyes to the marvels of the natural world, showcasing Daisha as a living bridge between the wild and the known. They hoped her story would encourage people to look at nature with renewed curiosity and a commitment to its preservation. Following the reveal, Daisha was moved to a sanctuary specifically designed for her needs, a place where she could live in peace while also serving as an ambassador for wildlife conservation. This new home was a testament to Astrid and Dr. Green's dedication, a space where Daisha could thrive and educate visitors about the importance of protecting the planet's biodiversity. Daisha's story quickly resonated far and wide, becoming a powerful narrative for the coexistence of humans and wildlife. It underscored the critical need to protect not just well-known species, but also those that were lesser known. Her story became a rallying cry for the protection of rare and endangered species. Astrid's role in Daisha's life evolved into one of advocacy and leadership within the conservation community. Her experience with Daisha transformed her, igniting a passion for the wild that she never knew she had. She vowed to no longer be too rigid and stuck in her routines like she had been before. Daisha had taught her that life was full of surprises, and she shouldn't turn away from that.